agenda and the content. What I would like you to know that the reason for us doing this is to start a conversation. This Africa and the Caribbean represents an emerging part of the world whose economies are ignored, like this, it's electronic, I thought it was falling apart. Like the blinds are coming down. It's unseen. What we want to do is to bring to everybody's attention, when you have over 1 million people, there is quite a bit of economic opportunity. And what we've got to do is get away from the idea, I think it's a conversation, that the only way to engage with Africa and the Caribbean is through aid when there's great opportunities for trade. That also, if we're going to have some aid, what we hope to do is to have capacity building aid and therefore help people to help themselves. I think it was somebody who used to say, you're going to turn people into fishermen, not give them fish.
My own background, I have worked for the last 20 years in international trade policy. So in the sense, if you're asking why I'm here, maybe that's part of the context. And trying to identify where trade has actually helped and where trade has hindered, where investment has helped and where investment has hindered the development prospects of countries around the world. And I think for us, looking at this Expo on trade and opportunities, for us at War on Wars and for many other groups, the question has to be, who benefits? Who benefits from trade? Who benefits from investment? Because it's quite clear that not all trade, all investment has been universally beneficial. If you take that back, if you set in the context, you take it back to the colonial times, and you know absolutely well that the colonial experiment, the colonial adventures were designed to extract value and extract resources from the colonized countries for the development of the metropolitan centers in Europe. And that was the whole basis on which colonialism was continued. And that, I'm not just saying that because it's an interesting historical fact, I'm saying that because a lot of that same impulse continues today in some of the policies on trade and investment that I think it's important to be clear about. And you saw that in the period of liberation, in the period of the 1950s and 1960s, the countries of Africa saw growth rates, the sorts of miracle growth rates that we would today associate with Asia. Huge growth rates coming in so many countries across Africa. Cameroon, Canada, all of those countries breaking free of the colonial structures and being able to invest in trade and invest in their own peoples. So a people-centered approach where the idea was that the peoples of each country should benefit. Obviously, that was short-lived. The oil shock of the 1970s, and the Volcker shock in the US, when the US ramped up their interest rates, that led to the debt crisis and the involvement of the World Bank and the IMF. And the structural adjustment programs introduced across the world by the World Bank and the IMF during the 1980s and 1990s were a disaster. They led to the 2 lost decades of development. Why? Because again, African countries, Caribbean countries, Latin American countries lost the ability to be able to direct their own affairs. They were told that basically either get our program or you get no debt relief, no loans, no way out of this spiral of debt. And as a result of that, we saw across all the countries of Africa a deterioration in the per capita GDP, a deterioration in terms of the economic strength, mass unemployment as more and more businesses went to the wall, huge numbers of manufacturing industries being pushed out of business. You look across Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia, more and more the study of this actually showing the impact of these free trade agreements on the countries of Africa and Latin America. And universally, it was a disaster. But what's interesting, I think, is that in the last couple of years, even the World Bank and the IMF have admitted they got it wrong. They said, we pushed quite hard for trade liberalisation. Do you know what? We didn't actually have the proof, we didn't have the correct arguments to back that up. They also said we pushed for capital controls to be eradicated. Now, they've had a turn of faith. They've said, actually, do you know what? They're probably quite a good thing to have. And you get an example like in Ghana, for example. In Ghana, the parliament in Ghana voted to keep protection for Ghana's poultry industry. It said we have a thriving poultry industry, which is really important for the Ghanaian people. It's important not just for the people involved in that industry, but also the people around that industry, all the people who are linked in with the production of poultry.
And for us, the support that we give, investing in business, supporting organizations investing in business, is as much as business growth, i.e. financial. We're adopting very much a social enterprise model. So it's as much about business growth, but for us, it's about social gains. So yes, we are making investments in business, but what does that mean for the individual? So last year, we used
that people are abused when they are having care. People, and there's no consequence to the health giver, there's no consequence to the caregiver. So this new initiative that we've taken as health professionals is there to make sure that people are treated and given the right quality of care. The good thing about the Zimbabwe Health Services is that it creates employment as well as takes care of people's health. So if you notice that a lot of people have migrated from Zimbabwe and they are now based in the diaspora, the advantage of that is that we've gained a lot of knowledge because most of us came here, educated ourselves either in medicine, nursing, or some sort of health-related course. And for us to be able to use that knowledge that we've gained here to benefit back home, it is very important. I also run an organization with a lot of business partners called Tenders for Africa. The advantage that I have is that as an African, it's important for people to understand that the way Africa is set up right now, you need to know someone. And creating a contact list was our first strategy. So we created a contact list of people that are in influential positions that we can approach and say, we are not here to take up your positions, we are not here to confront your position in government or wherever it is, but we are actually here for the benefit of the people.
What we're all looking for today is winners, new winners, and you demonstrate precisely what we're all looking for. We need people like you because you're like the Richard Branson future and the Lady Nita Roddick. They need to went to Africa and the Caribbean and source things. But the most important thing, and this is where I invite you to let us have your ideas, is we need you to recognize the importance of brands out of your country, not supplying all the retailers of their brand. Try to create your own brands, same as China is doing now. China is spending a lot of time and a lot of money creating their own shopping malls where they are funding those malls in the Middle East with Chinese branded products, not just fashion, but everything. So you're sitting on a gold mine of opportunity. And we need to support people like you so that you can become the heroes. In each of your respective countries, you've got to spend more time and more money giving these people the funding they need, the advice they need, so they can become your country leaders by real living examples.
And in terms of intertrade between different countries, I totally agree with the lady who mentioned, I can't remember who it was, there's a growing middle class in Africa. I mean, Nigeria, Angola, Kenya, South Africa are places who have which have growing middle classes, people with disposable income. However, we do have the issue of validation, so our designers, and we deliberately promote the different brands because we want those brands to stand up on their own and hold their own. A lot of them are established locally and they are now beginning to get traction on the local markets, but unfortunately, they don't really trade with each other because it's prohibitively expensive to get goods across borders in Africa. It's very expensive. We've tried it ourselves with raw materials, and we can't get cotton from one country to somewhere where they dye it, like Ghana, because we'd rather actually it would probably be cheaper to get it to the UK and then ship it back to Ghana, which is ridiculous, and those are the challenges we're facing.
The lady who spoke about trading amongst each other, I think it's very important, and I think it's something that needs to be looked into to see how we can make that bridge easy. However, you also have to put into consideration that people that have resources are looking for money. And usually amongst each other, we don't have the money. So people are going to where they know they'll get the money. So instead of doing it as a good gesture, you are talking of a community of people that are economically, going through a lot of stuff. And once you have a thriving business, you really want the money to be coming in. I'm going to address the lady who spoke about corruption. It's very true. There is a lot of corruption. There is a lot of corruption internally and externally for people that want to do business. I'm talking from experience from Zimbabwe. And what's happened now is a society of people have been accustomed to corruption, such that even when you are trying to be honest, there is no honesty. So to bypass that and to possibly work against that, what we are trying to do is we're trying to put the diaspora people, the people that are here, that have been exposed to a culture that's actually growing. Because people that are here have been exposed to a system that shows that a cooperative can make more than individual desires or individual things that you want. So that's why we've created an organization called Tenders for Africa, which then answers the gentleman as well.
There are agencies in the Caribbean who are working assiduously in pretty much sorting that out. And the premier organization I can think of at the moment is the Caribbean Export Development Agency. They're based in Barbados, but they've got offices in, I think it's Santo Domingo, and they're quite proactive around the region. And there are other countries that have their own invest agencies, such as Invest TT, who is here today. Karen's in the audience. There's Invest Barbados or Barbados Invest. I see Paul in the audience. There is Invest St. Lucia. Well, they aren't represented here today. And there are Invest SVG, St. Vincent and Grenadines. They're here. They're not here. Well, in that case, it's a very long list of countries that have agencies that look to, assisting people to get their product outside of the region, and in some extent towards inter-regional trading. There's another entity called the Caribbean Enterprise Network, and what they seek to do is to help people within the region who have an interest in getting their products and services outside of the Caribbean region to global markets. So you can look them up on the internet. It's cenuk.net. So there are lots of agencies that will give you the sort of assistance that you need to get ahead.
I like that comments actually, and I thank you for it. The institution was established primarily to educate people on how to export goods, particularly goods from Nigeria to other places. And it does that by providing them what are the standards you have to meet and how to go about it. They are trying to educate people on how to export products from there. Because we know that there's no way, there are certain things we produce that we cannot consume locally. So we know that this thing has to be exported out. But many people don't know about this. That was why the council was established in the first instance, to educate people, to tell them what are the exportable products from Nigeria to other countries.
There is the argument that it can be exclusive in the sense that it excludes certain groups, that it can create urban elites, and there are sort of cons to it. But from our perspective, and we funded it before, I guess what we're looking for, regulation is key. We're sort of talking again just to the polarized theme of this discussion, aid versus trade. It's all about regulation. It's how you use it. And for us, I guess it's speaks to the ethical brand. There's a sort of bigger ethical, discussion that's going on, and fair trade is part of it. And we just want to understand how groups that we would support, say under fair trade, and there's fair trade with a small f, and that's what I'm using here, but it's about how you're building capacity with the fair trade with a small f to ensure that the people you're supporting are getting their fair dues.
So if you think globalization, trading relations, as we were talking about earlier, tends to situate all of the power and all of the gains at the top of the value chain. Fair trade is meant to be trying to challenge that and actually bringing value back down to the bottom of the value chain.
I've just got 7 quick generic steps. 1, what is your vision? Stop thinking small. I think the biggest problem we have is we think we're small and we don't really sell ourselves because we think it's just a traditional business. But remember, traditional businesses are profitable, and it's not the West that is showing the biggest growth, economic growth. It's the so-called emerging economies that are showing the biggest growth. So you may have a business idea that has great economic potential, but you're sitting on it because it's not an Amazon, it's not in the fast tech moving. But remember, you have to think competitive. You may be small, but think global about your ideas. And also, I kind of think to myself, think about the viability of your business idea. Who thought Post-it notes would make somebody a billionaire? So your idea must be great, okay? Think about ideas, think about the viability, long-term viability, And remember, big companies have resources and the infrastructure to develop your ideas very quickly. So don't think your ideas are not great. Because one of the things I'm seeing, the things like, I'm from Jamaica, so the great ackee and hot pepper sauce, it's amazing how many other countries are developing our ideas with a Jamaican flag on it. And they don't really come from Jamaica.
Yeah.
So think about your own islands and the products that you produce, and people are making money off your ideas, okay? So remember, protect your intellectual property by registering your trademarks, your patents and copyrights. It's really important. This is business, it's not personal. And also, work with reputable people and organisations. Do not base your business development of a friend who's a cab driver who works down the road, okay? Get reputable people. 2, understand the regulation. It's okay, forget your UK hat. One of our biggest complaints is, oh, they just don't understand, they don't do business like how the British do it. You're not in Britain. Understand the local climate and environment and culture of the country in which you are working in. Understand the business setup requirements, what it takes to set up a bank account, office registration, really simple things that will muck you up in the long term. Because you're just thinking, I can just go down to HSBC and set up a bank account and it can work in Nigeria and Jamaica or Trinidad. Understand what government support agencies are available to support your business. We may knock it, but understand what they do, at least understand the basics. Network with relevant organisations, agencies to help you fast track your issues, leads and success. The greatest thing is, you've got to get out there. Stop trying to run your business from your front room or your spare office. You've got to get out there, put yourself out there and make it work. And how effective is your embassy in terms of initiatives? Do you understand that you have to register with the company's houses there in the tax administration areas? I have a problem with our own embassies because I don't think they're proactive enough. I think that the emphasis is always on big businesses. Stop thinking small. That's the problem. I also want to say to this, value networking. That's how I believe I've built my business and my success. Network, stop being scared. I hate when people say, oh, I'm shy, oh, I don't really know what to do. There's no excuse, Google it if you don't know how to do it, okay? Value your networks. Government agencies are a necessity, but don't depend on them to be your saviour. Find out what they're doing. Get involved in industry-specific industries. There are people in here, that's why I asked, who are the professional experts? Find them, see what they can do for your business, and if they cannot help you, refer them to somebody else. Don't be selfish. And also, join popular groups. Where are your customers going? Where are your stakeholders going? Where are your clients going? Find out the networks that they belong to and sign up, join up and show up. Turn up, show up. Stop staying in your... stop staying in your... Okay. Get on LinkedIn. One of the most important things is please sign up on LinkedIn. Get a decent photograph. Do not have that blank generic thing so nobody else will. Invest in a proper profile picture. Okay, not the one where you was at a party or a christening or a wedding and you think that's great. Get a proper professional profile picture. Get on LinkedIn and network. Facebook is to build tribes, to build customers, to build followers, and also join the social platforms that your customers, stakeholders are there. So if they're on Instagram, whatever, I'm gonna rush up. The food is calling, so I've been told to rush. Don't be lazy, make the effort. Okay, think wealth. Again, a lot of us keep thinking because I'm small, because I'm a micro business, a solopreneur, it's not important. It's not just about money, it's about the people you associate with while in business. Also think about who you allow into your business. You may not be able to afford staff, but don't get your cousin or your friend in. They will sabotage your business unintentionally. That's why they're not in business. Get people who understand your business. Get an intern, get an apprentice. That's what it's about. Understand the rules. Understand why you must get an apprentice. They're moaning about young black boys and NEETs, etc., who haven't got jobs. It's your responsibility to give them a job. So you find out what you can do to get them in your business. Again, don't be lazy. And just think, every action you take Just think this. If Richard Branson was in my business for a year, what would he do? Yeah? Yes? Yes? Okay, make sure you're loud. And finally, in closing, I still don't believe that governments do enough to support small businesses because they're not entrepreneurs. But we have a responsibility to actually have an involvement in public life so that we can inform them of what's happening. Do not sit in your front room being the armchair revolutionist. That's wrong, they should do this. Get involved locally in your local politics and make the change you want to see. Job creation is coming from your micro businesses, so don't underestimate the value of your business idea. You are a giant in waiting. Go full out to make your business work. Your business is a gift to the world. Work on what you are good at and partner with somebody else to bring up the weaker part of your businesses. I'm on the last page. Business is hard work, it's grit, it requires determination, it requires resilience and a can-do attitude. The time for inspiration is over. It's time for perspiration. If you are serious, you will overcome the obstacles to find a solution. You don't go into business knowing everything. Learn to accept your vulnerabilities and ask for help. Get a mentor, sign up to all the government initiatives and local initiatives. So I say, accept there are sharks, there are mistakes, there's corruption, and there's challenges, but see them as stepping stones. Be bold, have courage, business is not personal, and never, never, never give up.
Guyana produces over 500,000 tons of rice. It is the biggest producer of rice in South America and the Caribbean. We also have a very big sugar industry, so we also have other crops, agricultural crops. So there's great opportunity for investors to invest in this sector. Guyana has now a Mexican company that is now involved in information technology that's been employing 2,000 young Ghanaians. And the reason for that, because we are very literate, 98% of the country is literate. Our lingo is very similar to that of North America and the Caribbean and so forth. It's a comparative advantage. So more companies are now investing in Guyana. Also the environmental services, because the mental rainforest. Also we have what we call the Eurograma project, one of the biggest Commonwealth projects in Guyana, and there are a lot of environmental services emanating from that. We have a vibrant transport sector, and also I should mention that Guyana, also they're looking at oil and gas, like Trinidad, our neighbor. They are very rich in oil and gas, but Guyana is said to have one of the biggest reserves of gas and oil, and that is now being explored.
You won't be surprised to hear that we're as busy today as we were in 1923. It was the worst recession that had ever hit, and I think we've got an even worse one this year, these years that have gone by. The thing that the Institute does, it literally looks at what you need to do and will help you get on and do it. We quite literally have education and training programs that can be as simple as 2 hours online to find out about a specific product or a specific way of doing business, or it can be a day's introduction to importing or exporting, leading through to a full qualification in international trade. We're already working with Export TT, Export Trinidad and Tobago. We're hoping to work with the Malawians. We're very much open for business. It's about teaching people how to do international trade. It's about understanding how that works. Earlier this morning we heard, give a man a fish and he eats for the day. Teach him to fish and he feeds his family. We'd like to take that a stage further and say, teach them to export and sustain a business and grow that business in that market. We've got the knowledge. We're really happy to try and share that with you. Perhaps that's all I need to say.
And I regularly organise groups to come in from Nigeria, from Aba Chamber of Commerce down in Port Harcourt, into Croydon, and also I deal with Barbados and bring a group of Barbados companies into Croydon. So it does become a two-way street. For those of you interested, obviously all of you are interested in Africa, we are doing something in July. We're bringing a group of buyers into Croydon, and if any of you are interested, please catch up with me or Andrew, who's somewhere around in the audience, so that we can give you an actual invitation. One of the other areas that I think the government can help with actually is information. We were told today that you don't have to pay for information, it should all be free. Unfortunately, it's not always free, but if, for example, you want some information, particularly on a country you're going to, the government, British government, will have staff in office. So, for example, if you decided you wanted to go to Barbados and look at the IT market in Barbados, we will be able to give you a list of people you should be talking to, make sure they wanted to talk to you by ringing them, making sure they were still there, and build from that.
But today is to encourage you how to import and export from our birth country, our grandparents' country, and our ancestral slavery country as well, because we are both here on different courses. So we're going to talk about what we can do for the diaspora and what the diaspora can do for us and for our family here and abroad. I'm very active in the Jamaican community, but I will say in Southwark and in London. And we encourage people to set up diaspora from the different backgrounds, African diaspora, Jamaican diaspora, whatever you want to call it. And the people in the Caribbean, the people in Jamaica, depend on us, especially for remittance. Now people might say, oh, you know, we have to go out in the snow, we have to go out in this to clean up to get the money to send. But they really rely on you for this thing. And it's not only the reliance to send children to school and to feed a family or so forth, but also it's to improve the country. It's the tourism that's brought into the country. The remittance brings in a lot of trade, a lot of support. So we need to keep that up. We need to encourage people the importance of keeping the diaspora going. Now, I'm not going to talk for a long time because I can. So I'm going to sit down, and if there's any questions you want to ask, please feel free to ask a question. But when you leave here today, leave your intention that saying, if you have £1, you would expect to send at least 20p to Africa, to Jamaica, to the Caribbean, because some of them need it. I look after 42 children in Haiti from the Haiti disaster, and we feed and school them and everything. Thank you very much.
But today we are going to sort of concentrate on the Africa question, which is how to push Africa forward, how to help or push the renaissance of the African continent. And my views on this question is that Africa's biggest problems, if we want to push Africa forward, it's not that we need aid or we even need the diaspora to invest money. Africa's biggest problem, the reason that Africa remains on its knee, is because of the crisis of leadership in that continent. Until we have leadership that are willing to advance the dreams of Africans at home as well as Africans in the diasporas, then we can't see anything forward. Thank you.
I will talk about this because every woman in Africa needs it. I'm going to concentrate on young girls, the foundation. I think we are forgetting the foundation of Africa. That it's the girls whose genital parts we mutilate, and the young women we marry, little girls we marry. We need that human resource to take Mother Africa ahead, like what we have with the excellent Joyce Banda, with a lot of women who are now up there. I'm just going to do a quick run of my model of empowering girls. It started in Zimbabwe. I am a girl who was poverty-stricken. We had no hopes. But I knew whilst investors, donors are running all over there, if I don't chase after them, they would never chase after me. So I made a breakthrough to a basic girls' school. I'm here because of education. So that's what I'm also going to really promote today. For Africa to move forward, a lot of our people have to know where they are going. So as you can see there, creating a network of girls is a model we imported imported from Zimbabwe. It's now here in the United Kingdom. What's lacking amongst us Africans is one pot of fund that we can manage together that also caters for those who are underprivileged but who have potential. So as Girl Child Network, we are putting a fund together which will see us investing in our children. How did we all feel coming to King's College and seeing such massive buildings when our children are under a little tree in Africa or on a school that is falling? These are some of the important questions. What is it that we need to do to just move the continent ahead?
The question you raised about the inter-building of relationship between the coast of the airfare is so high. It's not just within the Caribbean island, it's here where we're sitting now in London, because this government has put air passenger duty tax on the flights to the Caribbean. It's cheaper to go to Australia than to go to Jamaica right now. And we've been lobbying for a long time, and it was a slap in the face when the budget was discussed in March to say 16 pence was taken off the air flight. Now what we're saying is that at air flight, the tax alone is at least £400, £500 for a tax. The ticket can be only £200, but by the time they're building up with the tax on it, it's £700, £800. You need to lobby this government to say to reduce the air passenger duty tax, because it's harder for people to travel to Africa from the Caribbean. If you want to go to New Zealand, it's cheaper. You want to go to Australia, it's cheaper. It shouldn't be like that. We've come here, we talk about import and export. We've built up this country. So therefore, this is the opportunity for them to give back something to the people who want to travel back, especially the elder population who wants to travel backward and forward to see their grandchildren and so forth. So you need to lobby this government, and it's not just in the Caribbean, it's not just in Africa, but the governments not working together. It's a global thing, and we need to tackle it globally.
One of the reasons why we're here is because the question is being thrown back at us. Why are we in the diaspora? What have we learned in the diaspora? And what can we point back to Africa? So really, the key word here is the word responsibility. And that responsibility comes from authority. Now, as long as we have a time list, i.e. as long as we are alive, we have authority to do and undo. Authority doesn't belong to any particular president or any particular cause. If you decide to execute a way of life or thought, you've demonstrated your authority and you are responsible for your actions. The real deeper question that I'm hearing here is, what are we as diasporans going to do to redesign? Because we are architects or artists or artisans. If you say people are giving you bribes, it's because you're taking it. If you say people are bad leaders, it's because you're allowing it. America did not want any more government from England, so they took action and they kicked them out. When the Scottish were tired, they did their bit. When the IRA want to be heard, they did their bit. The question is, what are we doing? So let's cut and focus. And let's focus responsibility. Whilst we're here, we have the power and the authority to change anything that we want to for Africa. And when I say Africa, I'm referring to the African race, be it in the diaspora, in the homeland, or in what we call the Caribbean, which is the carry beyond. Because all that happened there was that they were carried beyond our waters, and it was a slant called Caribbean. It's carried beyond the waterfront. So they're Africans, but they're beyond the waters. So whilst we're here and we're learning best practice, whilst we're here and we're learning best practice, we have to recognize that people were not just born in the West by mistake. You weren't just given visas to the West by mistake. It's a clue. It's like a secret hatch. Come and spy and see what makes the West work. Come and learn how they've used divide and rule to slow you down. So every time you say you're a member of one of the 54 countries, you're causing trouble. When you say you're a member of the Caribbean, you're causing trouble. You're one people.
I'm going to get back to your question, and let me start with Congo first. Congo is this large country in Central Africa with 9 neighbors. Congo is virtually the size of Western Europe, incredibly huge, with more diamonds, more gold, more timber, more copper, more rainforest, more fertile land than any other countries in Africa. Congo alone has 50% of all the rivers in Africa. So it has huge potentials, and for the past 20 years, it has been the scene of the bloodiest and nastiest wars since World War II. Over 6 million people have been killed. In addition to the killing, something else has been happening, which is the use of rape as a weapon of war. And essentially what's been happening over the past couple of years, since the UN have been sent to Congo, is that militia groups and militia gangs, rather than raiding village and killing people using guns and bulletins and so forth, they don't do that anymore. They've become slightly clever, and they're looking after their families much more clever now. So what they do is, because if you kill people using guns and grenades, there is a chance someone with a mobile phone will call the UN and or newspapers, and someone would have to respond. So they would raid the village, and for days and weeks and months, they would rape as many people as they can possibly rape, until the entire village essentially decided, you know, we've had enough, and you know, we want to leave now. And statistics have it that 48 women are raped every hour, 1,100 every day, 1 every minute. And the reason I've given that statistic is because I want to put everything into context now. If you go back in the 1960s when Africa became independent, Congo was the first country in Central Africa and Southern Africa to become independent. And Congo being the size that it is and being where it is, right in the center of Africa, touching north, south, east and west, it means that if Congo becomes independent and with all the resources that it has, if it goes forward, then all the countries around the region clearly would also go forward. So from the very start, Congo gained independence in 1960, June, within a space of 3 months, our first prime minister was assassinated, killed, murdered, Patrice Lumumba. So from the very start, everything was done to frustrate, the move forward of the African continent. And that move continues to be done today in many ways and so forth. Now, we have a choice. We can go on and continue, and we also continue to sort of blame the West, and sort of say, what the West are doing A, B, C, D, and so forth. And it's also true. Kwame Nkrumah was killed, and Julius Nyerere, and many other leaders in Africa, but also there is also a sense of responsibility. We need to look into ourselves. We need to sort of see what it is that we are doing wrong. What is the biggest problems in Congo, or in Africa? The West have done a lot, but clearly, they are not to blame for the silliness and craziness of Mugabe in Zimbabwe, or Paul Kagame in Rwanda, or Joseph Kabila in Congo. And those are real questions we need to look into. My views of Africa, and I also subscribe to your views that Africa is beyond just the African continent. But if you look at Africa, you don't need the entire African continent to go forward. In Africa, my view is you need 5 countries. If you have Nigeria functioning, you have Kenya also functioning, you have Congo, South Africa, and Libya, which now is now a mess. The African continent will go forward.
So I just want to say some corrupt activities by foreigners are not merely bribes. They are actually intertwined in some, even look at the massive packages they give to each other in front of our poverty-stricken children who are dying on the street. Somebody can just pass by with a twin cab and pass by to their office in a festive street where a child is picking food from the bin. I think we need to look beyond and analyze so many institutions that have endorsed corruption, but to us we don't see it.
Well, hopefully I'll give you some information about starting going, and I'll give some information about some other funding as well. So my name is Amanda Barr, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've been running business for about 12 years. I gave up my job many years ago to start my own business, to take that plunge, take that risk, take that big challenge, and I'm here 12 years later. It hasn't been easy, but it's been very, very rewarding. So for those of you that are just starting or been going for a few years, I'll say keep going. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, it gives flexibility, and it also gives you the opportunity to create your own wealth. And I think creating your own wealth in the community is very important. But we agree, and especially where some of us volunteer lots of projects in Africa and abroad. of attraction, and I feel that, you know, if there's something that we put your mind to and you look at it positively, it will come. So what I'm saying here is that whatever it is that you want to do, whether you want to grow, you want to expand, you want to go internationally, it's about law of attraction. You know, you do have your ups and downs in life and in business, in anything that you do, but it's about having that positivity, putting that vision board up. I went to a place called Beaconsfield. Anybody know that? And when I went there, I actually was in a mini cab and I was like, wow, these are wonderful houses out there. One of these is going to be one of my dream houses. So on my way back to the station, I stopped at an estate agent and walked in and said, yes, madam, can I help you? And I said, yes, all these houses here, they're very beautiful. I'm very interested. He looked at me thinking, okay, right. So I said, can I have a look at this brochure? Can I have a look at that house? And there was a particular house, it was about 8 bedrooms, and it was something like 1.3 million. I was like, okay, I'll have that brochure. I'll be back soon. It's like, okay, ma'am, no problem. And do you know what I did? I actually took it, put it up in my office, on my wall, and I look at it every day and I say, yes, I'm going to have 2 or 3 of those. So it's about law of attraction, yeah? So it's about being positive as well. It's about dreaming big. You know, whatever it is that you want to do in life, it's about dreaming big, having those big aspirations, those big thoughts. You know, not the fact that you're limited or, you know, you feel that background, you know, stereotypes and things like that. I think it's something that we need to really look beyond and dream big and go for diamonds, if you like diamonds, ladies. And then going global as well. You know, we're always talking about business here, and I know we're talking about other countries as well, but the fact is we've got our lovely phones that can basically help us to start growing our business internationally as well, creating wealth, and also having the lifestyle that we want. And I think that's quite important in terms of, you know, where you are in life, where you believe that, oh, I want to start my own thing, I want to create my own wealth, I want to have the lifestyle that I want. And that's the reason why I basically stopped my 9-to-5 job and said, right, I'm going to go and run a business. And then financial freedom, I think one of the things that I've seen over the last few years is that it's been tough. It's been very, very tough financially from a business perspective, personal and social. So it's like, how do you work towards, you know, attracting that wealth, keeping yourself going? And I'm a strong believer about multiple streams of income. You know, so if there are different ways that you can bring in income, then look at those different ways, not just, you know, stick to one thing. Because sometimes, you know, if you put all your eggs in one basket, it can go completely wrong. So, you know, looking at different avenue streams, obviously ones that are rewarding, ones that are realistic as well. But I think in this day and age, 2014, it's about multiple streams of income as well.
After working for 80 hours per week for 7 years, I achieved my goal of saving $1 million 3 years earlier than planned. And after that, every year, I made millions since then. Armed with my global profile and my business education and my savings, I launched Global Markets Consultants, a management consulting firm in New York and London in 2002. And I'm proud to say that my company has been a preferred consultant for Deutsche Bank since 2005. And my substantial savings have ensured that my business has remained financially sound despite the biggest economic crisis of 2008. And I'm proud to say that we did not let go of any staff during all these years and have never even thought of looking for a loan. Furthermore, my savings have enabled me to retire at the age of 45 and pursue my charitable investment and political interests. For charities, I have raised £150,000 by running London Marathon, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, trekking to the Mount Everest base camp, cycling 500 kilometers in Vietnam and Cambodia. Next, I like investing in projects and people, but when I invest my money, I make decisions based on 3 things: credentials, a comprehensive business plan, and a promise of a solid expected rate of return on my investment. Whether it is the government or a venture capitalist or me, I assure you that all investors are looking for these 3 same things. So to win, you must perform better than other entrepreneurs. Lastly, to pursue my political interests, I set up a new political party, All People's Party, last week. And this party is set up to help talented people like you become a political leader in England. With my party, you can become a councillor in 2014, or a member of parliament in 2015, or the To recognize my contribution to the UK, I was invited to have lunch with the Queen on the top table for a Diamond Jubilee celebration event in 2012. Additionally, I was awarded OBE for services to the economy and promoting charitable giving in 2013. In conclusion, I have told you about my 3 secrets of having a successful business. To compete and win against top entrepreneurs, acquire the best business skills. If you are not beating your competition, you must sharpen your brains. Believe in your skills, not in luck. To start and sustain your business and survive economic crisis, save substantial money. Remember, banks want collateral and your profit, and Honga.com wants your peace of mind. To grow your business globally, acquire skills of a global manager. Don't you want to make the world your oyster? I hope that you will follow these secrets to fulfill your dreams and be the master of your own destiny. All I can assure you is that my doors are open to you. Please don't forget me if you do become a billionaire. And on this note, I would like to close by saying what I tell myself every day. Ask not what others can do for you, ask what you can do for yourself.
I think regarding the second question and a little bit about the first question, we have to remember that everything out there is a competition. So when you are applying for charity funds, we need to make an application so convincing that we can beat other people who are sitting in this room, because everybody is competing for the same dollars. Now what I can suggest, if you were to apply to us, and for example, if we are convinced that there are enough volunteers who are giving their time, then we can look into providing financial support. But it would be difficult for us to just provide financial support when we don't get the feeling that your charity organization has enough volunteers who are willing to at least provide their time. I also work at $4 an hour. So the people we are trying to help, they have to understand that becoming successful is not a destination, it is a journey. So whatever skills they are missing, they must go out and acquire those skills. Otherwise, nobody is going to support them forever. And we can fight for those skills after those places. But everything I have and I'm in front of you, I have retrained myself over the last 20 years. Nothing has been given to me on a silver platter. And I'm saying, if you expect somebody to get this skill, some money or resources on a silver platter, it will never happen because of the competition. So help these people with the skill set. Teach them how to fish. Don't give them a fish every day.
We're at the Pan-African Business Expo, and I've got with me here Sonia Brown, MBE. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
How would you describe yourself in your own words?
Okay, I would say that I'm somebody who's passionate about enterprise, especially for the small business owner. I think that they tend to get a raw deal in business, and I think that my job in this world, or my passion, crusade, or purpose is to ensure that everyone who has a business idea can actually turn it into a profitable and viable business that they can live off, that they can fulfill themselves with, and also leave a legacy for the next generation, whether it's their family, their community, or society at large. I just feel that self-employment and business is just an amazing field to be in.
Well, Trinidad and Tobago is in fact a twin island state. It is in fact a republic. So our head of state is actually the president, and our system of government is similar to that of the UK because we are a former British colony. But in terms of investment opportunities, Trinidad and Tobago's economy is primarily based on oil and gas. So we are a huge oil and gas economy. In fact, 45% of our GDP comes from oil and gas. However, the government, recognizing that it is in fact a finite resource, has a strategy to diversify the economy. And there are 5 sectors that they have targeted for development. These include the creative industries. Being such a diverse country ethnically, our culture and heritage has contributed to vast talent, tremendous talent. So we're focusing within the creative industries on development of fashion, film, and music.
Yeah, Nigeria is a very blessed country. There is a lot of investment opportunities in that country, so many of them. They start from the area of agriculture. In that area of agriculture, there is also the agribusiness. Agriculture, you can come there. There is a good land, great land, viable land in Nigeria that is waiting for people to come and invest on them.
Can you please name some of the incentives?
Some of them is just like a waiver of custom duties, particularly for the machineries you are going to use. If you want to use your machine probably in agriculture, in areas like tractors and all those things, government is giving out a lot of incentives in that area. There are some they waive completely. The custom duty you are going to pay, you may not pay anything for your machine. And again, there is also tax holidays that if you go, they may be able to say probably for 5 years, for 3 years, depending on the area you are locating.
How did this journey start from being a wife and a mother into becoming a multiple award-winning entrepreneur?
Good question. I'll have to ask myself that every day. Well, I started my business about 12 years ago after working within IT. I realised that IT wasn't really for me. I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed doing community events, and basically it was an opportunity to start a business where people wanted to reach specific ethnic communities. So I basically started that off about 12 years ago, and then from there stemmed to also helping small businesses to start their business, look at marketing, look at PR, and then also look at finance. How do they fund themselves?
Why is it important for Black people, African and Caribbean businesses to trade internationally? Why is it important?
It's important because obviously if we trade internationally, it helps our people in Africa in terms of even them that want to start their own business. Also, it helps in terms of growing the economy. Obviously, Africa's got a lot of opportunities, from the last kind of 5, 10 years. I'll say it's definitely the new China. So I think trading internationally is important because at the end of the day, we can learn from each other, we can buy from each other, we can do things like barters, we can help people that want to start their business as well, like microfinancing, because I've seen that in Africa, if you want to go for like a loan or some type of funding to help your business, the interest is just extraordinary, and that's because there isn't a lot of microfinancing businesses out there. So I think the more we trade internationally, the more it can bring opportunities like funding, the banks, entrepreneurs to come over and help the community. So it's definitely an important aspect.
What stood out for you today at the Pan-African Business Expo?
I think the initiative was great. The idea of bringing together Africans and to some extent Caribbeans to discuss business in the diaspora is an excellent idea. There's not enough businesses doing well or excelling in business in the UK, and there's a reason for it. And some of those issues came out today in that we need more information sharing or data sharing. There's a great need for people to be more open to discussions of how to do business, what aspects of business to do, and the whole element of trust. That's very important in our community.
Well, the Institute's an education foundation, and it helps people to actually understand how to export, how to get into international trade effectively, and hopefully to make a profit.
Okay, so how do you support African and Caribbean businesses?
We use a combination of sort of tutoring and online lessons so they can learn how to do it themselves. And basically we do something like a 2-hour session on how, say, finance works all the way through to a full academic year of actually finding out how to do it properly.
What has stood out for you today at the Pan-African Business Expo?
What stood out to me is the enthusiasm of people to actually grow the African and Caribbean market. I just wish that the British government was putting a little bit more effort into those markets. The efforts have dried up in the last few years, but I think there's enough going on during the rest of the year to put Africa and the Caribbean back on the UK market, and I wish I will certainly be involved as much as I can to promote that to the rest of the UK.
The people that are new to exporting don't quite know how to go about it. They can ring us up and we'll advise them. A lot of the countries, they need pre-shipments, inspections and all sorts of different things to get the goods out there, so we can help them with that. Yeah.
Hi, I'm from Carib Direct. We're a Caribbean network that find information for the Caribbean diaspora all around the world. Come and look at our website. It's www.caribdirect.com. We've got lots of information for you. Here today we're talking business. We're letting people know about our Caribbean business, international business network. And if you have any kind of business that you want to trade or invest, or have anything that you want to do with the Caribbean, come along and find out. If you go onto our website, it's got lots of information for you.
My name is Vanessa Oluwale. I'm the CEO of LVLV Events. I'm here to promote my business, LVLV Events, and other projects that we do. It's a pleasure coming here to Pan-Africa Business Show, put together by Packers for Events. I've met so many lovely people today, and it's an opportunity also to meet with other businesses, network, and also to showcase what we Africans are doing in the diaspora. We work so hard, and we also promote to make sure that the generations after us come into this country to see that it's not all Africans that are corrupt. We have the genuine, honest business people working so hard to promote the image of Africa in diaspora. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daphne Kasambala, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sapele, which is a UK-based retailer of African-inspired fashion and accessories that's sourced from all over Africa, and it is sourced from ethical providers. I was here as a speaker. It was an absolutely amazing event. We had a meeting of minds of people from all kinds of fields related to business, doing business in Africa and the Caribbean. And also I got to meet a lot of people who are interested in starting their own businesses, and were able to share knowledge.
Hi, my name is Andrew Deans, and I've just invented a board game called Who's Conscious? It's a board game about black history and culture. It's like a trivia, and it's designed to educate and inspire and entertain people.
Hi everyone, I'm Miranda Foot of Positive Spirit Massage. I'm really enjoyed the day today, meeting lots of wonderful people. I do lots of treatments from Swedish, deep tissue massage, sports massage, and I will have a range of clients, from sports clients to young children, and also I do massage events and weddings.
Tell us about UK Export Finance.
UK Export Finance is a government department which supports the banks and complements the insurance industry in this country. We work with exporters, we work with banks, we work with overseas suppliers and buyers as well in providing a guarantee to the financing requirement. So we are necessarily a UK Export Finance organization. I am sure people would know us in this country with ECGD, which is the Export Credit Guarantee Department. So what we do is we direct them. We direct them to the right institutes, we direct them to the right organizations, we direct them to banks, which may be able to help them if their existing banks are not able to help them. We direct them to all the government funding schemes which are available. So in effect, we are here to advise them, help them with their exports, make them aware what is the risk that they run when they are planning to export or they are already exporting or want to increase their exports in a particular market. So what are the risks that they would face? We create that awareness. We tell them about the trade finance solutions which are around those. And that is how we as an advisor act for the exporter or to a bank and to the credit insurance market in this country.